She looked like any tired passenger dozing in seat 7C. Nobody knew she was a trained pilot with thousands of flight hours when the captain's shaking voice came through the cabin speakers. "Can anyone fly this plane?" The quiet woman who just wanted to sleep became the only hope for everyone on board. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The airport was full of noise that morning. People walked fast, pulling bags behind them, checking their phones, rushing to their gates. Among all these busy travelers walked a woman named Rachel Moore. She was 38 years old, wearing plain black pants and a soft gray hoodie. She carried one small bag and nothing else. Her eyes were tired and a little red, like someone who had not slept properly in days. Nothing about her looked special. She looked like every other exhausted traveler heading home. Rachel found her seat, 7C, right in the middle, between a young mother with a sleeping baby and an older man reading a thick book. The older man looked up and smiled politely. "Long trip?" he asked. "Very long," Rachel said with a small tired smile. "I just need to close my eyes for a while." She sat down, buckled her seatbelt, and rested her head back before the plane had even left the gate. The man went back to his book, thinking she was probably just another worker coming home from a business trip. The young mother gently rocked her baby, not paying much attention to the quiet woman beside her. As the plane pushed back from the gate, a flight attendant named Mia walked through the aisle, checking seatbelts and closing overhead bins. She noticed Rachel was already asleep and smiled softly to another crew member. "She must have had a rough week," Mia whispered. "Let's not wake her for the drink service." The plane rolled down the runway and lifted smoothly into the sky, beginning what should have been a calm 4-hour flight from Chicago to Miami. Rachel slept deeply as the plane climbed above the clouds. After months of long training days and safety checks at her old job, she just wanted to close her eyes and rest, with no delays and no problems. 30 minutes into the flight, everything felt calm. Passengers watched movies, read books, or slept just like Rachel. Mia moved through the cabin with the drink cart, careful not to disturb anyone. The older man beside Rachel had ordered coffee and gone back to his book. The young mother was gently patting her baby's back. "She has not moved once," the mother whispered, glancing at Rachel. "She must be completely worn out," the man whispered back, turning a page. No one around her had any idea that this quiet, tired woman had once flown through blackout storms, guided damaged aircraft safely to the ground, and handled emergencies that most pilots only read about in training books. Up in the cockpit, Captain Daniel Reyes and First Officer Alex Grant were enjoying what looked like a perfect flight. Captain Reyes was 51 years old with more than 20 years of experience flying passenger jets. Alex was younger, only 26, sharp and confident but still learning. "Beautiful morning for flying," Reyes said, looking at the clear sky ahead. "Should be an easy one all the way to Miami." "Weather looks perfect the whole way," Alex agreed, writing a note in the flight log. "Can't ask for a smoother ride." Neither man knew what the next 20 minutes would bring. The first sign of trouble was small, just a light shake through the plane's frame. Captain Reyes glanced at his screens, but everything still looked normal. Alex felt it too, a soft tremble that could have been nothing more than rough air. "Did you feel that?" Reyes asked. "Maybe just a bump," Alex answered, though his voice did not sound fully sure. Then the warning light turned on. A sharp beeping sound filled the cockpit, one alert after another. The plane's computer system was finding problems faster than the two pilots could understand them. "Engine 2 is showing strange numbers," Alex said, already flipping through his emergency checklist. But this was not a simple engine problem. Within seconds, a hydraulic warning appeared. Then an electrical warning. Then a pressure warning. "This does not make sense," Reyes said, staring at his screen. "These systems do not fail together like this. Something bigger is wrong." Back in the cabin, passengers began to feel that something was off. The smooth ride had turned rough, and sharp-eyed travelers noticed the change in engine sound. Rachel stayed deeply asleep, her body adjusting to the shaking without waking her mind. The older man closed his book and gripped the armrest. The young mother held her baby tighter and looked up with worry. "Is everything okay?" she asked Mia as she passed by. "Just some rough air," Mia said with a forced smile, though the strange pattern of alarms from the cockpit was making her nervous too. In the cockpit, things were falling apart fast. What began as small warnings had turned into a full emergency. The plane's flight computer, which normally helps the pilots fly smoothly, was now sending confused and wrong information. "I am getting numbers that do not match anything," Alex said, his voice tight. "Altitude shows us climbing and falling at the same time. Speed numbers are all wrong." Captain Reyes fought to keep control as the plane became harder and harder to manage. 20 years of flying told him this was not a normal mechanical problem. This was something far more serious. "Alex, I think our whole flight computer has failed," he said grimly. "The entire system might be broken." The plane suddenly dropped to one side, throwing passengers against their belts. Bags shifted in the overhead bins and people cried out. The older man grabbed his seat tightly while the young mother curled protectively over her baby. But Rachel still slept, her body so used to the feeling of aircraft movement that even this sudden drop only slipped quietly into her dreams. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain," Reyes announced, his voice steady but tense. "We are having some technical trouble. Please return to your seats and fasten your belts." More warning lights lit up like a wall of red. Mia and the other flight attendants moved fast through the cabin, checking belts, trying to look calm while their own hearts pounded with fear. "What kind of trouble?" the older man asked Mia as she checked his seatbelt. "I am sure the pilots have it handled," Mia said, though her face told a different story. The plane dropped again, this time harder, before leveling out. Several passengers screamed. A cup of coffee flew through the air. Somewhere near the front, a child began to cry loudly. Rachel's eyes moved slightly under closed lids but did not open. Some deep part of her pilot's mind noticed the plane's distress, but her tired body refused to fully wake. In the cockpit, Captain Reyes fought the controls with all his strength. The main screen showed impossible numbers, as if the plane was flying upside down at 40,000 feet while also falling through 15,000 feet at high speed. "The backup screens do not match either," Alex reported, panic creeping into his voice. "I cannot tell what is real anymore." Reyes looked out the window and used the oldest trick in flying, checking the horizon with his own eyes. The plane was flying level at around 33,000 feet, but the instruments kept insisting they were in a steep dive. "We fly by hand from here," Reyes decided. "Turn off the autopilot and the flight computer completely." But as Alex reached for the switch, the plane's nose suddenly dropped hard. Both pilots pulled back on the controls, but the broken computer fought against them, trying to fix problems that did not even exist. "I cannot control it," Reyes shouted over the sound of a stressed aircraft frame. "The computer will not let me fly the plane." The plane entered a sharp dive, throwing passengers forward against their belts. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling as the cabin pressure system, also linked to the broken computer, began letting out precious air into the thin sky outside. Screams echoed through the cabin. Parents pulled their children close. The older man began to pray quietly while trying to fix his mask. And finally, the chaos was enough to wake Rachel more. Her eyes opened suddenly, not slowly like normal waking, but instantly alert, the way only years of hard training can create. Her pilot's mind quickly took in everything at once. The tilt of the plane, the sound of the engines, the screaming around her, the dropped oxygen masks. "Oh no," she whispered, recognizing the signs of a serious emergency right away. She grabbed her mask with one quick, practiced motion while her eyes scanned the cabin fast. Then she heard Captain Reyes's voice over the speaker, filled with a fear she had never heard from a commercial pilot before. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is an emergency. Our flight computers have failed and I am having serious trouble controlling this aircraft. If anyone on board has any pilot training, please tell a flight attendant right away. We need help. The cabin went silent except for the roar of the engines and the whistle of rushing air. Passengers looked at each other with wide, scared eyes. Who could possibly help fly a passenger jet? Rachel's mind moved fast. She was flying as a normal passenger, off-duty, with no official role here. But she also had more emergency flying experience than almost any other pilot in the sky that day. Mia rushed down the aisle, stopping beside Rachel. "Ma'am, are you a pilot? Please, if you can help, the captain needs you." Rachel looked around the cabin one more time. Frightened faces stared back. Children crying. Parents holding tight to each other. Everyone counting on Captain Reyes to save them, and she could hear in his voice that he was close to his limit. She unbuckled her belt and stood up, surprising everyone nearby with her sudden calm. "I am Captain Rachel Moore," she said clearly. "Commercial and military rated. Tell your captain I am coming forward." The older man's mouth opened in shock. "You fly planes?" "Military transport planes and commercial jets," Rachel said, already walking toward the cockpit with steady, sure steps. "Over 7,000 flight hours. I have handled emergencies worse than this." Mia's relief showed clearly on her face as she led Rachel forward. "Thank you. The captain will be so glad to see you." As they moved through the cabin, passengers watched with new hope in their eyes. The tired woman from 7C, who had looked like just another exhausted traveler, was now their best chance at survival. At the cockpit door, Mia knocked hard. "Captain Reyes, we have a pilot passenger here." The door opened right away, showing Reyes's sweat-covered face. Behind him, Alex fought the controls while red lights filled the small space like fire. "Thank God," Reyes said, stepping aside. "I am Daniel Reyes. This is Alex Grant. We have multiple system failures and the computers keep giving us false readings." Rachel scanned the cockpit fast, her trained eyes taking in the mess of warning lights and wrong readings. But she also noticed something the two pilots, locked onto their screens, had missed. "Captain, look outside," she said calmly. "Use your eyes. We are actually flying level at around 33,000 feet. Reyes looked up from his instruments and felt some panic fade. She was right. Despite what the computer said, the plane was flying steady. "Your computer is lying to you," Rachel continued. "This is a cascading system failure. I have seen it before, twice, once in training and once in the field. First step, we cut off the broken system. Alex, can you pull the circuit breaker for the main flight computer? That will turn off our autopilot and navigation," Alex said, worried. "Your autopilot is trying to crash this plane right now," Rachel said firmly. "Pull it." Alex looked at Reyes, who nodded. The moment the breaker was pulled, the violent shaking calmed down a lot. "Better?" Rachel asked. "Much better," Reyes admitted. "But now we are flying completely by hand, no computer help at all." "That is fine," Rachel said. "Pilots flew planes by hand for decades before computers came along. Daniel, hold your heading and altitude while Alex and I check the backup systems." For the first time since the emergency began, Reyes felt like they might actually survive this. "How do we tell the passengers?" he asked. "They are terrified back there." Rachel thought for a moment. "Tell them the truth, but slowly. Say we found the problem and we are working on it. Do not lie, but give them something to hold on to." Reyes clicked the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain with an update. We have found the source of our problem, and we have an experienced pilot passenger helping us in the cockpit. We are working to fix things and will update you soon." In the cabin, passengers felt a wave of relief. The woman from 7C was helping. Maybe they had a chance after all. But Rachel knew their problems were far from over. She could see on the fuel screen that they were burning fuel much faster than normal because of the failures. "Alex, what is our fuel situation?" she asked. He checked the numbers. "At this rate, about 2 hours before minimum reserve. And Miami is still almost 2 hours out under normal speed," Reyes added grimly. Rachel thought fast. Flying by hand would burn even more fuel, so they needed a closer airport. "Daniel, what is the nearest big airport?" she asked. Reyes checked his charts. "Atlanta. Long runway, full emergency cruise, about 35 minutes away." "That is our best choice," Rachel agreed. "Alex, call air traffic control and declare a full emergency. Tell them we need priority landing and emergency crew standing by." As Alex worked the radio, Rachel was already thinking ahead, planning the approach into Atlanta. She knew landing without computer help would take old-style flying skills that many modern pilots rarely practice. "Daniel, when was the last time you landed completely by hand?" she asked. Reyes thought. "Maybe 5 years ago, during training." "Closer to 3 for me," Alex admitted. Rachel nodded. "This would be hard, but not impossible. Here is the plan. I will talk you through a manual approach. We use the runway, our eyes, and basic instruments only. No autopilot, no autoland." Both men looked unsure. "Have you done this before?" Reyes asked. "Many times," Rachel said with quiet confidence. "In much worse conditions. Landings on damaged runways, no lights, storms, no instrument help at all. This will feel simple compared to some of those nights." Her confidence spread to the two men instantly. "First, we brief the cabin crew," Rachel continued. "They need to prepare passengers for a hard landing, in case we need a fast evacuation." Reyes called Mia to the cockpit and explained. Rachel watched Mia's face carefully, seeing fear but also strength. "Mia, you and your team are the most important people on this plane right now," Rachel told her. "The passengers will follow your lead. If you stay calm, they will too." "What do we tell them?" Mia asked. "The truth, but slowly," Rachel said. "Tell them we are diverting to Atlanta as a safety step, that we have things under control, and to review their safety cards carefully." Rachel turned back to the flying. They began their descent toward Atlanta, and every choice now mattered. "Daniel, ease the power back and start a slow descent," she said. "We want to be at 10,000 feet by the time we reach Atlanta's airspace." Reyes followed her lead, and for the first time in an hour, flying felt natural again. "Alex, what is Atlanta Tower saying about weather?" Rachel asked. "Winds from the west at 12 knots, clear skies, good visibility," Alex reported. "Perfect conditions for a hand-flown approach," Rachel said. "This is going to work." But as they kept descending, she noticed the fuel numbers were still lower than she wanted. "Daniel, lean the fuel mixture as much as you can without hurting engine power. We are cutting this closer than I would like." 20 minutes later, Atlanta's runway came into view through the windscreen. Rachel felt the old familiar rush as they entered the final, most important part of the flight, the landing. "Okay, gentlemen, this is where it counts," she said. "Daniel, set up for landing exactly as I say. Alex, call out our altitude and speed every 10 seconds. Atlanta Tower, this is Flight 312 declaring an emergency," Alex transmitted. "Multiple system failures, requesting priority approach runway 26. Flight 312, Atlanta Tower, emergency crews are standing by. Cleared for straight-in approach, runway 26. Report runway in sight." Rachel looked ahead and saw the runway clearly. After years of landings in fighter planes, cargo jets, and trainers, this felt like home. "Daniel, reduce power and lower the landing gear," she instructed. "Alex, flaps 15." The plane slowed and lined up exactly as it should. Rachel watched the speed and the glide path, guiding Reyes with calm, steady words. "Looking good." A little more power. Alex, full flaps. The runway grew large in the window. Rachel could see fire trucks and rescue vehicles lined up along the taxiway, waiting. 200 feet, Alex called. Speed 140 knots. Perfect, Rachel said. Daniel, ease back on the power. Let her settle. The plane crossed the runway edge exactly on target. Reyes felt the pure satisfaction of a good landing as the wheels touched down smoothly on Atlanta's runway. Beautiful landing, Daniel, Rachel said warmly. You should be proud of that one. As the plane rolled to a stop, the cabin broke into loud cheers and applause. Passengers hugged each other, crying with relief. They were alive. They were safe, thanks largely to the tired woman from seat 7C. Reyes turned to Rachel with deep gratitude. I do not know how to thank you. You saved every one of us. Rachel smiled, feeling her tiredness return now that the danger had passed. Just doing what any pilot would do. We look out for each other up here. As emergency crews surrounded the plane and passengers began stepping off, Rachel felt the weight of the last 2 hours finally settle. The older man from seat 7A walked up to her as they waited to leave. I still cannot believe you are a pilot. You looked so normal. Rachel laughed softly. That is the whole point. We are just regular people who happen to know how to fly. Today, I got to use that to help. Later, as news reporters gathered to speak with the people who saved the flight, Rachel pushed most of the attention toward Captain Reyes and Alex, but she could not escape the simple truth of what had happened. Sometimes the most important moments in life arrive when we least expect them, and heroes are found quietly sleeping in middle seats, looking like anyone else. Rachel Moore had boarded that flight wanting only to rest. She landed as the pilot who helped save every person on board. That is the thing about being a pilot, she thought. Even off duty. Even sitting quietly in seat 7C. You never truly stop being responsible for the people flying beside you. And sometimes that responsibility begins with one simple question, echoing through a frightened cabin. Can anyone fly this plane? For Rachel Moore, the answer had always been yes. She just happened to be dozing in 7C when the sky needed her most.